What's going on, everybody? My name is Ben and welcome back to the bench for another episode of the NATO versus Warsaw Pact Group Build. Today we're going to go ahead and push forward on our Su-15 and try to get some primer down on the aircraft. This is how it stands right now. As you can see, it looks pretty decent. It's a long aircraft. We have our nose tacked in, a little bit of a seam here and a little bit of a step as well, but that's not that big of a deal. We need to go ahead and airbrush the canopy, make sure we have that interior blue color, and then we need to cover the entire thing with primer. We can mask off some of our areas and then airbrush the bottom of it as well. Once we have a nice coat of Stalin-Res down, and we can check all of our seams, we can check all of our hatches, make sure we didn't miss anything. Now moving back over to the nose, as we can see, there is a bit of a step from the nose down to the fuselage, so we need to come in and try to minimize that as much as possible. Now I'm not going to be able to really eliminate that entirely, but I think we can bring it down just a little bit to make sure that actually works out. So let's go ahead and cue up a time lapse. We're going to use some jeweler files. We're going to use some sandpaper. We're going to come in there and try to kind of taper that nose cone down just a little bit. I'm not, again, looking to completely remove the line. I just want to go ahead and minimize it. So let's go ahead and give it a shot, see what we can do. Alright everybody, so we have our nose more or less attached on, we have it tapered in, I'm happy with it, so we're going to move over to the landing gears real quick. I went ahead and off camera just tossed this together to go ahead and test and see how it worked out, and it looks pretty decent. We can fit the wheel right inside there without having to glue it down right now, so we can paint these without painting up the wheel as well. We also have the main gears that I assembled. Those go together a little bit better, I think, than the nose gear, but again, they aren't really correct. They actually are completely wrong when it comes to the actual shape of the real aircraft. So that's a little disappointing. I'm not going to fix it. We could try to replace them or something, but you're not really going to notice, honestly. These are fine for what they are, so that's good enough. Now we have to come back though, and we have to airbrush all of these that interior blue color. Also, I want to go ahead and maybe toy with the idea of adding in some brake cables. We also want to go ahead and prepare all of the inner bay doors so that we can get everything painted that interior blue color, just so we don't have to mix a bunch of paint multiple times. Now I'm going to go ahead and just take my jeweler files here. We're going to sand down a lot of the little raised inconsistencies and then of course try to eliminate those sink marks on the inside of the doors. Those will be slightly more prominent, so I want to make sure those are gone. So just in case someone looks underneath, they won't notice all those sinkholes. So we're going to remove all of those out of that. I don't think I'm going to need to use any filler. I think I can just sand them down and that should be good enough. Once I bring those down, we can go ahead and just overcoat that with that interior blue color and then we'll be fine. Eventually I will want to come back and maybe drop some panel line wash in there and dirty them down just a little bit to match the interior bays, but I think I can do that at a later time. So now that we have all of our parts and pieces stuck down here to the tape, we are ready to go ahead and start applying some paint. So let's go ahead and dive into that time lapse. We're going to mix up some of the interior blue color. We're going to airbrush everything that needs to be interior blue. Then we're going to go ahead and start priming this aircraft. That should be fun, guys. So let's do it. We are back from primer, and as you can see, the Su-15 is all nicely primed. I'm very happy because all of the little panels that I rescribed, they came out perfectly fine. I'm happy with them. The seam around the nose is still there, and it is significantly tapered, but well, it is what it is. Underneath the aircraft, we have all of those panels. They look great, as well as all the other little panel lines and things we rescribed. They all look fine. We should kind of come back though and maybe sand down the primer just a little bit to make sure it's not as rough, make sure it's kind of smooth. I think that would be a good idea. I do have to go ahead and fix one little blemish right over here on the nose. There's a tiny piece of plastic missing. Probably when I clipped it off the sprue, it clipped a little bit too close to it. I dropped a little bit of super glue on that. It cured up. I'm just going to sand it down and then we'll just reprime, and I think we're ready to go. Now that our priming coat is pretty much ready to go, let's go ahead and switch over to the Alclad black basing, get that all nicely gloss blacked, and then we'll also hit a couple of other detail parts like the missiles and the wheels. All right, everybody, we are back, and as you can see, we have our missiles all nicely painted in white. The scratch built part there, it turned out okay. I'm happy with it. It's going to be good enough, at least for this kit. We also went ahead and airbrushed the center hubs of our main wheels and nose wheel with a green color. I left the tire alone for right now, and this is actually a Mission Models color. This is a tractor green, I think also known as bright green. I think it's pretty decent. I like it. We also went ahead and airbrushed, as you saw, all of our parts a gloss black. Here are the gun pods. As you can see, they look pretty shiny, and actually Alclad dries super fast. I forgot about that. But these, I want to go ahead and let them cure just a little bit longer. We also went ahead and overcoated all of our wheel bay doors as well as our landing gear covers. As you can see, we've got that gloss black all over those. We're going to have to go ahead and just let them cure just a little bit though. I don't want to screw it up. And of course, the Su-15 all nicely gloss black primed as well. I left the nose a little bit iffy, but that's okay. That's going to get reprimed and then painted with that green color. The rest of it though looks fine. Couple of variations here and there in the glossiness of that primer, but I think I can use that to my advantage. Go ahead and maybe try some natural variants. I'm not really sure how it's going to go, but we're going to go ahead and call it quits for today. We've done a lot of painting. I think we're in a really good position. We'll let this cure, let this dry fully, and then I'll come back next episode and we're going to go ahead and start putting down our metal colors. That should be fun. But until our next episode, guys, you know the drill. Go out there, get yourself some bench time, have some fun, build something cool, and we'll see you back here on the next episode of the NATO versus Warsaw Pact Group Build. Thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you soon.